Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's video I will show you how to create a realistic mockup for your clothing brand. This can be used to easily visualize how your graphic or garment will look before you order your samples. If you go on to enjoy today's video or it helps you in some way or another, drop a like as well as subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. We've been growing a lot lately and I appreciate that so much. Depending on what niche you're in, you might sort your inspiration from another brand, but for this example I'm going to be using Eighth Wonder, so shout out Sal. I'll be using the shirt they collabed with Pressure. I really only recommend doing this if you're doing it for yourself and you want to visualize how your garment looks, or if you're using the same blank, because if you're not using the same blank or a similar fitting shirt, you really don't want to use this because you're going to disappoint your customers depending on how high quality the garment looks. If you ship out a garment, they're not going to be happy. So I believe the blank they're using is the All Style 1301 little plug. It's a solid blank that's very affordable. For example, let's say I'm using that blank on one of my shirts that I plan on dropping, then this method would be acceptable. However, I still recommend taking product photos of your own samples. So as you can see, like, picture quality is not super high, which can be a problem if you plan on promoting this picture with your own brand. However, since this is just for a YouTube video, the quality doesn't really matter too much because I'm not posting it. But the whole method's pretty easy. This is my preferred way of doing it. I just go to the lasso tool. Depending on how big the graphic is, if it's an all over print, good luck with this. But since this is just a front graphic and a little size tag, it'll be pretty easy. Also, depending on the photo quality, Photoshop, if it has a higher quality photo, it'll be easier for Photoshop to understand. I just trace around the image as close as I can around the graphic, and that's pretty good, I'd say. And then once you have your selection, you just right click and bring up fill. Click that and make sure the contents is set to content aware. I don't know what any of these other buttons do, don't really mess with them. And then you just click OK. It should take a second to load. Graphic's gone. It's just a blank shirt now. Just to deselect, Control D, it'll deselect your selection. Now, as you can see, there is some imperfection that Photoshop messed up on. The shirt kind of looks a little like it has a bleach kind of look to it. That's just going to come along with the photo quality, how much of Photoshop can take like the outside of the garment and fill in the inside. If you have like a little blotch or anything messed up, you can just highlight that. So I'll say this, I don't know what this is, mess up that Photoshop had. You can just circle around it, repeat the same step, content aware, and it disappears. There's like even a white speck right here if you're really picky. You can do the same method, and that's gone now. Or this other white speck down here and do the same thing. You can even do this to get out wrinkles. Curve in the arm. I'm not going to do a full wrinkle, but just as an example, you can highlight some of it, fill it, same method, and it takes away the wrinkle. You don't want to have a completely smooth garment because then it'll just look unnatural. I'd say that looks pretty clean. You can do the neck tag next to see we're really zoomed in and the quality just absolutely gets destroyed. But same method. Sometimes you'll have a little mishap like this. And then this is another method. You can bring out your clone stamp tool as your selection, which means only things that happen in this area be affected, and just pull any part of the garment that you want to put right here. The inside of the neckline will be the same, and then you just kind of paint it over and then deselect it, a straight line, and you can kind of just fade in your imperfections. And then for the bottom of the collar, this might be a little more difficult. Do the best I can. I'll just content aware it, see how it turns out, and turned out not too bad. I'm gonna make a new layer and just go in and freehand the rest. Shrink down my brush size and kind of just fade it in. It's a little harsh. It looks a little noticeable, but not too much. It's also just an example. You can take more time into your own. Now we have a blank shirt to mess with, and if you want to get rid of the background, a bunch of different ways. We'll try to just to remove background, see how this turns out. Okay, well, I removed the background with some minor mess ups on the edges of the garment. I do this the long way, so I'm just gonna speed this up, but I manually erase everything with pen tool. See you guys back when I finish that. Now that I have the garment outlined, here via cut, delete that. Now we just have a black shirt on a blank background. You can obviously add your graphic, find a quick graphic to add to it. I'm just gonna bring over this graphic I made forever ago, resize it to what I think looks about right, and change the blend mode to get rid of the black. Now you can make some finer adjustments, make the graphic blend in more with the shirt, or the opacity. Not too much. You can also make a displacement map with your shirt. Basically uses whatever the displacement map is and distorts the graphic to fit that shirt. I don't really know what I just explained. We can do that by just saving the shirt. So you just save the shirt as a PSD, go to filter, displace, I haven't really messed around with these 10-10 settings displacement map. All the graphic move very slightly. Higher quality pictures, the graphic will displace a lot better, but this did a little bit. Where the smoother edges got messed up just a tad. Just helps the graphic fit in better. And just like that, I mean, that looks pretty good. You can also open up the layer styles of your graphic. And on the blending options where it says underline layer, you can hold Alt and move this like slider thing, and the more to the right you move it, or of the bottom layer, that will show through. So obviously if I do it a lot, it looks very pixelated, but that's just due to the garment. If you have a more detailed picture, it'll look a lot better. We can add a little bit of see-through, adds a little more texture, just adds more texture to the shirt. We can even add our own neck label. So I'll just bring up an old tag I made for my old logo, make it a nice gray color, and size it to about what would look good. It's a realistic size. And we can also add the same displacement map to this graphic by doing the same steps: filter, distort, displace. We can lower the opacity and remove where the tag would not be showing. So the collar, the tag would not be showing right here. Keep the opacity about do 70. And there's like a semi looking real shirt. Obviously it's gonna work better with higher quality garments that you use, but I mean, I'd say this looks pretty good. Nice white background. The final step, you can also adjust the lighting if you'd like, the levels or curves. We bump our grays a little bit. That like brightened the image up a little bit. It's all up to preference. Now I'm gonna show you how to do the same, but without a white background, you can add a concrete background. Another example, I'll use Crypto. Shout out Mr. Whip, a legend. This hoodie as a different example, different garment. Just save the picture, add it to your Photoshop. Do the same process. Bring out the lasso tool and just trace around the design, content aware. And as you can see right here, it messed up the neckline. It thought some of the neckline should be here. Pretty easy to remove. Just do the same thing. And now it's gone. Also see somewhat of a shadow around where we just made the selection. Be careful around where like a crease would be. For example, the sweatshirt pocket is. Content aware filter might mess up, so you usually have to hand do more complex parts. See, it already took part of that. Right here might be a little complicated to do. I'm gonna do it in parts. Example, let's say I just do it all. I want this pocket to be perfect. Content aware, it'll probably absolutely butcher it. Yep, so half the pocket's missing now, which is going to be a lot harder to add back. For hard spots like where it's over the seam, this is where the clone stamp tool comes in handy. Size it about appropriately to what the seam would be. Maybe this looks about good. Alt, click right here. It just basically lets us paint, so we can just paint the seam, and we'll do it from the other side too. And then I'm just going to manually clone stamp everything by just clicking Alt where I want to take part of the garment from and just stamp it, clone it. Part over here, which might be a little complicated for Photoshop. Just paint it from the bottom, paint up. Stuff like this is where I definitely recommend just taking a photo of your own sample. Now, if you could see these different like weird color splotches from the previous graphic, like the orange and a little bit of pink on the pocket, you can easily fix that by just duplicating your layer, taking the hoodie out from the background. Quickly do that, and then as you can see, we have the hoodie fully on the background. Edges are a little messed up, so you can take your time with that and clean up those edges if you'd like. You just add an adjustment layer, clipping mask it to the hoodie, and just drop the opacity. Now it's solid black. So then it's a lot easier to actually clean up discolorations. There's always gonna be discoloration unless you have a perfect garment. You can try your best to get a lot of them out, but it might take a lot of time. I'd say that looks pretty cleaned up enough for this video. Add your graphics, so we'll just use the same graphic again. Bring it over and adjust it accordingly. Just like that, of a garment on a background. You can replace the background with whatever you'd like while adjusting some of the lighting to make it fit better. That looks pretty good compared to how it did look previously. It's a lot of just playing around. If you know Photoshop pretty well, this should be quite easy for you. But like I said before, I don't recommend selling off these pictures. Best if you can just show your customers what the actual sample is rather than faking it. About it, if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I read them all. Try to respond to most of them, if not all of them. I have a new clothing drop probably planned for mid-March. Everything's gonna be cut and sewn. So far the pieces are crazy. I have jewelry dropping, a cardigan, insane patchwork pants, a graphic tee, and a hoodie as well. If this video helped you guys in any way, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you're brand new. This has been Trevor, and I'm out. Peace.